So Elijah seems to be renewed somehow at Sinai. This was the mountain that was the source of Israel's covenant with God. But whereas the earlier theophanies there at Sinai had involved earthquake and wind and fire, the narrative here seems to be making a point of saying that God is not in the earthquake and the wind and the fire. He's in the lull after the storm. This might then be providing a kind of balance or corrective to the preceding story that we've just had of Mount Carmel, Elijah on Mount Carmel. God may be the master of the storm, and Elijah dramatically demonstrated that, but he isn't to be identified with the storm in the same way that Baal was. He's not a nature god, and he's known only in silence, a kind of awesome vocal silence. In the theophany then that follows to Elijah, God instructs Elijah to return. He has to leave Sinai, he has to return to the people, he has work to do. He has to foment rebellion, or revolution I should say, in the royal house. This task is one that Elijah will not complete. His disciple Elisha will end up completing it. But the importance in this scene, I think, is its emphasis on God as the God of history rather than a nature God. Israel's God acts in history. He's made known to humans by his acts in history. His prophet cannot withdraw to a mountain retreat. He has to return, and he has to play his part in God's plans for the nation. So we've discussed the prophet as God's zealot, particularly as illustrated or exemplified by Elijah and Elisha. The prophet also had other roles, and we'll see this in Elisha. Elisha succeeds Elijah. The cycle of stories about Elijah ends with Elijah's ascent into heaven on a fiery chariot and a whirlwind. That's a detail in the story that has contributed to the long-standing belief that Elijah never died. And so Elijah will be the harbinger of the Messiah. He will come back to announce the coming of the Messiah. Elijah left his prophetic cloak to his disciple and successor, Elisha. Elisha's involvement in the political arena was also important and highlights another prophetic role we've touched on before, that of kingmaker and kingbreaker. So just as Samuel anointed Saul king and then David king in private meetings, you also have Elisha. He sends an associate to secretly anoint Jehu. Jehu is one of Ahab's ex-captains as king of Israel. This is going to initiate a very bloody civil war. Jehu is going to massacre all of Ahab's family, all of his supporters, his retinue in Israel. He also assembles all of the Baal worshippers in a great temple that was built by Ahab in Samaria, and then he orders all of them killed and the temple demolished. So it is a pitched battle, an all-out war between the Yahweh-only party, the Baal party. We're not going to be looking at Elisha in great detail, but I will just point out one last aspect of his prophetic profile that I think is notable here in the book of Kings, and that is the characteristic of prophets as miracle workers. Like Elijah, Elisha performs miracles. He causes an iron axe to float. He raises a child from the dead. He fills jars of oil. He makes poison soup edible. He causes 20 loaves of barley to feed 100 men. And he heals lepers. These legendary stories in which divine intentions are effected by means of the supernatural powers of holy men, this represents a popular religiosity. People would turn to wonder-working holy men when they were sick or in crisis, when they needed help. And this kind of religious activity, which was clearly widespread in the ancient Near East, in Israel, this kind of popular belief, this fascination with wonder-working charismatics, it's also seen very prominently in the Gospels of the New Testament.